All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We are back and we are live. All right. So, let me get this thing together here. Our topic tonight, as I was thinking back on some of the things that we as Black people living in America um, don't really take, I'm not going to say don't take serious, but we don't take full advantage, or maybe we don't really understand how these systems actually work. So, in our program tonight, we're going to be dealing with the two failures of our community. And one is the command over political systems and local infrastructure, and the other one is the control of our education and narrative, the lack of control of our educational buildings, situations, and our failure to control our own narrative, as Doc says a lot of times. And these are two very, very important pillars that, in order for us to be successful, we have to be able to master and we have to be able to control. Now, I remember when I was growing up in Philly and I was going to school, there were no Asians in my school, no Asian children. There was no Asian people living in the area where I lived. There was no Asian teachers. You were either Black as a teacher or white as a teacher, but all the students were 100% Black. We did not control the education. When I got into a more diverse community down in Tennessee, where you have white and Black going to school together all the time, I didn't see no Asian children. They were not there. I don't know where they were. We had Asian people in Nashville, but their children wasn't going to these schools. You had Blacks and whites. And so the thought was, where did they go to school at? Who controlled their education? Since there were none in my children's schools, there were none in mine. When Jabbar and Jamila got to high school and they were in one of the top high schools in Nashville, then you, and that was just a real few. So I'm assuming that they had their own spot where they went to. But Black folks, we have not taken advantage of those type of situations. So, Doc, we're going to open up with that. And in the first half of the program, we're going to deal with not controlling the political systems that we find ourselves in. And my first question to you, Doc, is there a lack of true understanding the power of the political systems? Is that the reason why we're not excelling in the political sphere?
No, that's probably a primary reason, to be honest with you. our political scientists have not done a great job with educating our people inside of the classroom and outside of the classroom regarding these science of politics. And we're really talking about a science. Um, Someone once said that, matter of fact, I think it was Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton said politics is nothing but war without bloodshed, and war is nothing but politics with bloodshed. We haven't been at war in regards to politics probably ever. Okay, at least a century. I'll give it a century. Um, so our disengagement from the political system is in many ways due to ignorance, due to apathy, a sincere belief that it won't make an ounce of difference. You know, I'm right now in my head, I'm hearing Andre 3000 from Outkast, who said
Mhm.
in one record, he said, "We vote because nobody's running but crackers," you know. And so there's this lackadaisical engagement with the political system. And the truth of the matter is that he who controls the political system is going to be able to craft their own reality. You
Mhm.
know, I've seen it everywhere I've been. That whoever's controlling the governor's chair,
Mhm.
whoever's the governor's mansion, rather, whoever is handling city council, the school board, they're going to dictate what is going to happen. And you can sit there and you can protest, you can stomp your feet, you can shout and you can holler. Well, the selection has already been made. And when that selection has been made and it was made through the ballot box, that individual who you're giving all this power to by not participating in the electoral system is now going to appoint who they want. And you can be quite sure you ain't going to be on that list of
Mhm.
individuals who are going to be appointed. So in many ways, the lack of understanding of the worth and utility of politics and how the system works is one of our biggest downfalls.
Mm. And Doc, when we look at that, I remember um, what was it? Sesame Street,
Mhm.
Big Bird, and you remember the little typewriter. You know, I'm just a bill. I'm a bill on Capitol Hill.
Schoolhouse Rock. Uh,
Yes,
sitting
yes.
sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm off to committee where I sit and wait. Yeah, I know the bill. You know, oh, I hope and pray that I will, but today I am still just a bill.
Just a bill.
Yeah, they need to bring the bill back. The bill jammed. And ironically, I talked about the bill in one of my freshman survey classes on Thursday. Yeah,
Mm.
I actually played that for them.
Oh wow.
One of my students said, "So how is a law created?" And I'm like, "Let me show you." And
Mm.
I pulled up the bill. Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock.
Exactly, exactly. Do you think, even as children, that you have to begin that process of educating them on how things are governed, how things are made, how laws are made, and make them to understand the reality and the power that each voter has?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, the thing is that from the moment they enter, they need to understand that everything is political. Even where you decide to buy your fried chicken is a political decision. So we also, and this is what my mother in particular did with me. I went into the voting booth with her
Mm,
from the age of 4 or 5 years old. She took me in there so I could see what that process was like. And one thing that I just fervently believe is that the children of parents who vote and are politically engaged will be politically engaged when they grow up as well,
mm,
because they haven't lived in a world where politics didn't matter.
mhm,
Now, the reverse
mhm,
is also true, that if a child has not been groomed and raised up to engage in those things, they probably never will, because they don't see a reason for doing it. and you'll hear these these sort of a this rationale of like especially when an economic downturn, you'll hear Christians say, "Well, I've chosen not to participate in the recession. You know, the Lord
Mhm.
provides for me." Well, there's a reason this is going on, okay? And you're hugging a white Jesus instead of taking your black self in there and fighting on earth is a problem, a significant problem.
Mm, mm, mm. Do you think that we all heard the phrase, "Ain't no need to voting, man. Shit ain't gonna change. You know, voting is just a waste of your time."
Hmm.
Now, in the society that's things are set up on voting, um, is that a very dangerous line to keep putting out there in the atmosphere for Black people to continue eating and believing?
Yeah, I mean, look at the situation we're dealing with right now. People sitting on edge, wondering if they're gonna eat, wondering if there will be a Thanksgiving, or will you be in jail because you done went up in the Walmart or your local grocery store, filled up a cart, and tried to run through a hole like Earl Campbell. These people were elected by someone, and it's just what it is. That if you choose to not participate, you life is going to choose a path for you. And for those who say that voting doesn't matter, tell that to Harold Washington. Tell that to Marion Barry. Okay, David Dinkins. These black men who made a significant impact upon the cities that they ran with, and we can keep going. We can talk about Richard Hatcher in Gary, Indiana, Carl Stokes in Cleveland, Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. They made sizable impacts within their cities and, of course, within their community as well. Now, I'm not going to throw Kwame Kilpatrick in there. That's a whole other thing. Throw Brother Kwame in there. You know, sometimes we get in there, and it don't work out the way we imagine.
Definitely, definitely. And you named some very great mayors, and we're going to look at a few of them today and see, was there a common thread that ran through all of their political history once they became mayor? And we're going to look at that and see what that is. What is the difference, Doc, between gerrymandering and voter suppression? If there is a difference, what would you say?
Gerrymandering is a way to suppress votes. So, in many ways, what you're talking about is grouping a group of individuals together who historically have voted, let's say, Democrat. You're going to
Hmm.
group them together. Whereas they used to have maybe 6 districts, we're going to create one enormous district. And those little pockets of Republican voters, we're gonna give them a chance to have a political voice by creating. Now, keep in mind, we started with 6 that were all Democrat.
Hmm.
Through gerrymandering, we can divide, we can reassign those 6 so that you have one that's a large Democratic district and 5 that are Republican. Now, the Democratic district may have 200,000 people in it
Hmm.
in one district. The 5 Republican districts that have just been created may have a total of 5,000 people in it, but their voice carries more weight than the larger district. So that's gerrymandering, which leads you to voter suppression. And one of the things that we know about voter suppression, and it's one of the things that bothers me so much about the left. The the tricks that your opponents are using are not new. They do the same thing, and they're going to telegraph what it is that they're doing. Every time we get close to voting time, you know that they're going to say, well, you need a state ID. every single time. That happens at every election. And they know that the more qualifications, more things you have to bring to vote, the fewer people who will vote. It's in many ways kind of similar to the reason why black, and I believe we talked about this last show, the reason why black folks end up in basketball and football, because those are the two sports that require the least amount of equipment. The more equipment that you need, the fewer of us who are going to be able to participate. Voting is kind of like that. But when you consider that you know that's coming, why aren't you prepared?
Mhm.
Why isn't the left saying, well, listen, we're going to start getting people IDs and what have you 6 months out? Why not? And what it comes down to is a lack of a planning, a piss poor leadership. I was looking at the news right before we came on. They're talking about being close to ending the shutdown.
Mm.
And what the Democrats are they're not getting the extension on the insurance subsidy, which they've been hollering about. And there was something else that they're not going to get, that they've been just up in arms about. They're talking about the Republicans pledging to have a vote on it in December. Hell, you had votes on it already and it didn't pass. So you gonna go ahead and say, well, we're gonna give y'all what y'all want, but in December we're gonna vote on it so y'all can vote it down now. Who do y'all have making decisions for you? Who, you know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Who, you know?
Exactly.
And the other thing was the SNAP thing. They're not going to get that either. So in
What?
so in many ways, what you're going to be looking at is a propaganda campaign that is going to basically say, well, the Democrats shut down the government for no reason. Because if
Mm.
those were the issues that they were, SNAP and the insurance subsidy, if those were truly the issues that they were fighting for, why did they end it without getting either one of those? That's what's coming.
Wow.
And they're not going to have an answer for that. They're not going to have an answer at all. The only people that I trust within the Democratic Party to be able to have a message and the guts to deliver that message are the individuals who are behind the Lincoln Project, and they're former Republicans or
What
Republicans like Trump.
what is the Lincoln Project? I haven't heard of that. What
A,
is
bu-
that?
a bunch of rogue Republicans who fell out of favor with the Republican Party, who have been creating these magnificent commercials and things like that. And you can tell it's shocking to hear it coming from the left until you get an understanding that it's really not coming from the left. These are Republicans who are trying to show y'all how to fight fire with fire. The closest thing that you have that is resembling the way that Republicans do is Gavin Newsom out in California. For him to, I
Mm.
don't know if you saw his latest thing when Donald Trump fell asleep during the meeting. And Trump likes to give people names, nicknames, and what have you. And Gavin Newsom called him Dozing Don. And so you're going to have to fight, because you're in many ways dealing with a electorate that are not sophisticated people. They like
Mm.
to have name calling. They like to have, history packaged in a little neat box, even if it ain't true, even if it doesn't tell the entire story. That's what they like to have. And so until you start doing that, you're going to continue to lose or not be as powerful as you could be.
Mm. Wow. So let me ask you, Doc, real quick, because you bring up the term, and I want our people to make sure they understand these terms. You talked about the right and the left.
Hmm.
Break those down. What exactly is this right and what is this left?
Well, when we refer to the right, we're principally talking about conservatives. We're talking about the Republican Party, and the right has different gradients to it. You have Republicans who have, in many ways, been silenced and ostracized with the rise of MAGA. MAGA would be considered far right. They're more right than Republicans are. Then you're going to have the left, which is the liberal side. You have a center aisle, which is the centrists that usually decide every election
Mhm.
between Republicans and Democrats. But the left is liberals, and if you go far left, you're going to be dealing with Antifa and those type of people. You just saw the guy who just won mayor of New York City.
Mhm.
He is
Mhm.
far left. He is a democratic socialist, which is
Mhm.
in many ways going to be very interesting to see what occurs because
Mhm.
he's vowing to block any rent increases in New York City. He's going to make public transportation free in New York City. So we're going to see how this is going to shake out because many of the wealthy are saying, well, if you're going to heavily tax us, we're going to leave.
Mm. And it was really strange that out of the young Jewish uh, Mandani received, and he was clearly anti-Israel. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it brings up a question, and it is kind of the dilemma that we saw with white radicals in the 1960s. Young folk, by and large, because they're not responsible for the big picture of things that are occurring, are usually more radical, more left than their parents are.
Mm,
The yuppies that we saw during the 1960s, the flower children, by 1980, they over there with Reagan because now they are the head of their father's company. Now they understand these larger issues. And I would venture to guess that that's probably what is going on, that you have some rebellious, youthful Jews who are out here exploring the world, and they're not fully aware of what happens to them if Israel falls. They're
mhm,
wrapped up in right now what is probably morally correct, whereas the leadership of that place and really every other place, they're not looking at morality. They're looking at survival and flourishing.
mm. Wow. Now, because he's a socialist, and you say for him that would make
A democratic socialist.
a democratic socialist, so
Yeah.
he's far left.
Hmm.
With his ideas of free buses and reduced rent and all of that, talk for voters, or is that something he can honestly achieve?
Well, it turns into this, and this is the question that you have to deal with, and it is the idea of public interest versus private property. Is he able to do a rent freeze, telling people who own those apartments and things like that that they can't raise rent? That's going to be
Mm,
interesting to see as to if that can happen. I would venture to say in New York City, you probably can, because New York City is a much different place when you're talking about housing, you're talking about rent, and the way they handle things there. It's not a normal place. I was shocked to learn that my best friend, he lives in Brooklyn. They don't pay for trash collection,
oh,
and I was
really?
like, he said, "No, man, we ain't, ain't nobody gonna pay for you to come and pick up their trash." And I'm sure that there's a way that it's worked into their taxes so that
Right.
it's handled that way.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where New York is, many people call it the planet, because quite simply there's no other place on the planet Earth that's like that, so we'll see.
Mhm.
The question becomes, can you do these things and balance a city budget? Can you do these things and not end up bankrupt? That's to be seen, because many of the most wealthy individuals in that city are already talking about leaving because they don't want to be taxed at a high level. So it'll play out. We'll see.
Mm. Wow, interesting. Yes. We have computers moving a little slow. Twin Pyramid, peace and blessings, Twin. We're glad you're here. Twin was here dropping comments even before we went live. He was here making it happen. Emerald Jules, peace and blessings. We're glad you're here, Queen. Tranquil, peace and blessings. We are glad you're here. And Brother Willie Rivers, peace and blessings. We are glad you are here. Our topic today, the two failures of our community, dealing with politics and also dealing with the narrative, controlling our narrative and controlling our educational system. And so, Doc, when we talk about the socialist aspect of Mandani, the way he ran and the things that he believed in, and actually got voted in, has there been another one like him that has actually made it into office?
Yeah, Bernie Sanders. Yeah, Bernie is a socialist. A
Mm,
democratic socialist. And the ideas that you see with that Bernie advancing, those it's almost textbook socialism, and most
mm,
people kind of agree with the perspective that the Democratic Party made a grievous error when they threw their full weight behind Hillary and kind of discarded Bernie, because Bernie's ideas were right and exact for Americans then, and I would argue for Americans now. Look at where you are. Look at what's going on. And you're trying to tell me that the idea of adopting what the Communist Party USA talked about, and that their mantra was from each according to his own abilities, and to each according to his own needs. We're not talking about a system that is going to collapse because wealthy people are not making enough money. We're talking about a system that is going to collapse because the poor and working class, the non elites, are going to eventually be out in the streets begging for food. This is the
mm,
exact same thing that we saw with Herbert Hoover in 1929. The
1929.
exact same thing. Okay, and what was Herbert Hoover's response to the recession that happened in 1929 as a result of the Wall Street crashing, the stock market crashing? To institute tariffs on the American people. It proved
Mm,
disastrous then. It's going to prove disastrous. It's proving disastrous right now. It makes no sense. And anyone who has just a basic understanding of economics will tell you that the thing that causes economies to grind to a halt is money not circulating. That's why it makes absolutely positively no sense whatsoever to allow Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, to accumulate billions of dollars. Makes no sense, because that money has been pulled out the economy and is not circulating. And so, what are you going to do as workers, as people? The problem that the American population has in regards to adopting a greater reliance upon the idea of socialism or being a democratic socialist is that they've been, number one, educated to hate socialism for some reason. And when you ask them what is socialism, they can't answer it. The other thing that they have a problem with is that many of these fools out here still believe that they ship gonna come in. That
Mm,
everybody with your DNA has been broke down, a factory that took all the good out of them by the time they 50. Okay, they looking haggard, they back hurt, their knees hurting. But you, on the other hand, oh, you gonna be the one that make it. You gonna because you're smarter than everybody else in your family. You gonna work harder. You're slicker than they are. No, this system
mm,
is gonna f you like it f your great grandmama, your granddaddy, and your mama and your daddy. There ain't
mhm,
no escaping it. And
mhm,
until Americans really understand this principle that you're never so essential that you're a part of the machine. You're not a part of the machine. If you died today, they would have somebody else in your place tomorrow who'd be happy to be there.
mhm,
Okay? You are never the machine. You are simply the oil and the grease that allows that machine, you're the lubrication that allows it to operate. And when you're talking about allowing it to operate, come on, let's be clear. When your car start run, it hit 3,000 miles and start bumping around, what bad you better do? You
I
better
got
go get
oil
you
change.
better go get an oil change, put some more oil in there.
Mhm,
It's no different. It's no different whatsoever. And the thing is that it almost always comes back to the idea of how do you imagine life and society, and so much of what we imagine and what we realize and think that we understand is predicated upon our intellectual diet. And so at the same time that we're here talking about SNAP benefits, and many people have taken the oppositional position against even things like Section 8, saying, well, oh, you shouldn't be able to be on there for generations. Okay, cool. But you also shouldn't be able to give $40 billion to Argentina because you like their leader. You
mhm,
also shouldn't forget that if we're gonna knock out welfare, let's knock out corporate welfare as well.
mhm.
You paying American companies to take their goods abroad. It's corporate welfare. We should never forget Obama. When Obama bought, he bailed out the automotive industry.
Mhm.
About that.
Yep.
If that's not corporate welfare, what is? And here you sitting around here scared to answer your phone because you owe Discover $750.
Exactly. So, Doc, let me see. I guess wrote as you was talking and started writing down some questions here. Now, when you turn according to one's needs and according to one's ability, with socialism in America, since America is capitalism, then I took
Whoa,
that
whoa,
with
whoa, 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 whoa. See that? See, you're doing it. You're doing it.
okay.
America is a faux capitalist society. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
Okay, we're really talking about capitalism and we're talking about laissez-faire. Ain't gonna be no bailouts. There ain't gonna be no income tax return. There ain't gonna be any of these things where you see the government assisting people and helping people.
So
See,
I want to interrupt you real quick
go
because
ahead,
you
go ahead,
didn't touch on something. You
go ahead.
said there will be no tax return. So are you saying we wouldn't pay taxes?
Oh no, 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 no. You gonna pay taxes. You ain't getting nothing back.
Uh, oh shit.
I mean, let's be that's a socialist act right there. That taxes can be collected and then can be redistributed. Okay, to those who are in need. Be very clear about that. Okay, so now when you're talking about pure unfettered capitalism,
Mhm.
yo, dog eat dog. You ain't got Congress interfering with any mergers. It is a it is a race to see how much shit you can get. Period. And if
Mm,
you're able to get it, you're allowed to keep it. That's capital.
mm,
What we're
mm,
doing here is saying, oh well, now now we ain't gonna let that happen. No, no, no. Step out of it if you're the government. In the same way that you step out of it when it's common folk. Where can
mhm,
common folk turn to for any help? It's in many ways socialism for the wealthy and the elite, okay, and
mm,
unfettered capitalism for everybody else.
mm,
Capitalism has something built into it that gives people hope that one day you getting ready, man, you getting ready to ball.
mm.
Or the other option, your broke ass gonna be living up under a bridge somewhere. Which one you want? Do
Mm,
you want some controls on society? If you want controls on society, if you want regulation, you're talking about socialism. If you
mm,
want to just let it go as it go, like what we saw a couple years back with Flint, okay,
mhm.
with their water being messed up, shit, yeah,
Right.
you better figure that out. Government
Mm,
ain't got no money to send to you for you to clean up that water to build a filtration system.
mm. Wow. Wow. So, but Doc, and I remember when we got the bail, or not when we got the bailouts, but
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they
yeah,
got
yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you some questions. What you mean we? Yeah, are you French now? I was talking about we got something.
when they got the bailouts, and they were calling them too big to fail.
Yeah.
And if they failed, then that means it will trickle down, and everybody who was working for them would fail, and so it would be catastrophic.
No, no,
So,
no, 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 no. No, they ain't worried about the common worker not being taken care of. They're worried about if one financial institution collapses, the next one will collapse because they're all intertwined. They're all in bed together with each other and reliant upon each other. They ain't talking about common folk failing, okay?
mm,
Because is the U.S. government too big to fail?
I would think so.
So what about all these people that's been laid off and fired?
Mm,
Have
mm.
the defense contracts for McDonnell Douglas been canceled?
Nope, not at
Come
all.
on, come on.
Not at all.
You're talking about a different set of rules when you're talking about that type of money and you're talking about institutions. That's really what we're talking about. The common ordinary man, I don't care
Mhm,
what his race or ethnicity is, he is going to be they're going to beat on him like a rented mule.
mm,
And the problem is that some of these mules happen to be white, and they've been able to be convinced, you better than the black mule, especially that
mhm,
one over there with that sombrero on. You got him beat. So they
mhm,
won't come together. And it's one of the historical consequences of whiteness. That white folk are more likely than anybody else to cut off their nose to spite their face. And they're looking at the consequences of
mm,
doing that foolishness right now. Look at the farmers.
mhm.
I wish I could get my taste buds back together to when I was in middle school and they would sell us them soybean hamburgers. Boy, I used to look forward to Wednesday. I bet you they probably give away soybeans for free now.
Mm, mm,
If I knew the
mm,
recipe and how to get that so it was edible. Hey,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
look at them.
Right,
Okay,
right.
the request that I have is that when you show up at any of these facilities, so to get food bank or anything, whatever your needs are. And I'm not knocking you because you got needs. Everybody got needs. You hit a rough spot. All I ask is that you wear the red hat when you come. Wear a
mm.
red hat.
Definitely, definitely. I want to welcome Big Brother Roy to the program. Peace and blessings, Big Bro. Is
Peace,
definitely glad to see you.
peace.
Always, always. So, Doc, one thing that I remember when we're talking about that time period, George Bush, he sent out like two
H or
sets of
W.
checks.
H or W.
H.
Okay.
Yeah. No, W. I'm sorry. W.
The
The
sun.
sun. The sun.
W.
W. So he sent out two different checks, and he explicitly do it in your savings account.
Hmm.
Go spend it
Yes.
because the economy needs it to be spent.
Yes.
Do not save it.
Yeah.
Go spend it.
Yeah.
Now, when he said that to me, I'm understanding that as if y'all don't go spending this money, we're gonna fail as a country. Our economy will go straight down in a rocket ship
Yeah.
because y'all not spending money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So explain how in the world when we sitting around and you got all this other commerce going on, you got trucks running back and forth on the highway delivering goods, but yet at the end of the day, you still need people to go out and spend. People can't save.
I mean, it go what you're talking about is taking me right back to my earlier point that the thing that grinds economies to a halt is when there's no money circulating. Let's start with the truck driver that you were just talking about. Let's say
Mhm.
that he is taking Whopper Choppers, something that Sanford and Son had an episode where Fred was trying to sell Whopper Choppers. Okay, they're selling some appliance. Okay,
Mhm.
now the reason that he's able to have a job driving that appliance to that store is because that store needs to fill that space on its shelf because
Okay.
someone purchased that Whopper Chopper. Now, that truck driver is going to get paid for what he is doing. The people who created the Whopper Chopper are going to get paid for their labor. And the
Mhm.
owner of the Whopper Chopper is going to get some profit off of this. Now, the truck driver, when he gets back home, his wife is looking at him, and as soon as he walks in, she's going to hand him a piece of paper. Junior wanted to play football, and he made the football team, and he needs a uniform and all of the trimmings. So now you got to go out and buy a jersey, some pants, some pads, some socks, and all of those items were what? Made by some individual.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, the reason, and they'll go out and they'll support the economy as well. Now, the reason, the science behind don't put this, don't put this money in the bank and do not pay a credit card
Mhm.
with
Yeah,
this
he said that
money.
too. Mhm.
We need for you to go and buy a Whopper Chopper because the people who work at the Whopper Chopper shop, at the Whopper Chopper factory, they have to be paid. And the owner of the Whopper Chopper factory is going to shut it down if his Whopper Chopper stops selling. And once he shuts that down, all of those people are no longer, especially before FDR's administration, those
Mhm.
people are there was no unemployment check. So now you got people who are permanently locked out of the employment system. Now, how do we get them back to work? You get them back to work by selling Whopper Choppers. But who's going to buy a Whopper Chopper when there ain't no work? So
Mhm.
the owner is going to have to make a decision. Now, the honorable thing would be if he's made 100 million already on Whopper Choppers, is to keep producing them, keep your people working. But they don't do that. They are going to, and this is the polite way of telling people that you're fired. We're gonna lay you off.
Mhm.
Okay. So now you're laid off. You're locked out of the economy. And this individual who made 100 million off of all of y'all labor has taken his money and is sitting over here on the sidelines saying the best thing that I can do for the poor is not to become one of them. So in many ways, you're seeing, when you see these stimulus checks being sent out, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stimulate the economy. There's nowhere in American economic history, there's nowhere in humanity that you can point to people who are getting enormous profits off of their company, their business, and they turn around and they invest all of those profits back into the company. It doesn't happen. They buy jet planes, they buy another mansion, they put the money in the market themselves. So the allowance of the government to allow a top 1%, and now we're talking about a 0.1% to hoard all of the money, is going to kill the economy every single time.
Mm. So, do you think if we go back to Roosevelt, because he made the taxes like what, 98, 99%?
93%.
If we go, not if we, but if America goes back
Mhm.
to doing that,
And wait a minute, and they still made money paying 93%,
mm,
which boggles the
mm,
mind.
exactly.
You're not just breaking even at 93%. You're still making money.
Mm, mm, mm. And so when the government goes in that route, why is it not seen a win-win for everybody then?
And what route?
To do what Roosevelt did with the 93% taxes. Because if he did that, if Trump did that, he wouldn't have to do no tariffs, right? Or it's
Correct.
still, he would still need to
Correct.
do it.
No. Oh, you would need tariffs. If you had the wealthy and the elite paying their fair share of the taxes, you would. But you have to remember, how do you know what you know? Just a general question. How do you know what you know? People know what they know by what they've learned, what they've observed, what they've digested.
Mhm.
Well, in a society where the wealthy and the elite, and I hope this gets us back to talking about education and things like that, and voting, but in a society where the wealthy are able to dictate what will be read, what will
Mhm.
be produced to be consumed as literature, what will be in newspapers, because if newspapers print some things that they don't like, they have the ability to go ahead and shut that down. What will be on the airwaves? Look at the FCC. Look at a station like a show like 60 Minutes, where Trump was able to sue them,
Mhm.
okay, because they edited Kamala's interview, and this week he demanded they do the exact same thing for him, and they did it. So that information that is being put out there is being filtered and censored by the elite class. So those who are engaging with it, who are digesting it, that's where their
Mhm.
knowledge is coming from. Only in America can you have a situation where the poorest population, parts of the poorest population, will stand up and say, "No, you. This is America. This is a democracy. This is capitalism. You can't tax people that much." Only in America. And
Mm,
you have to
mm.
remember that FDR's New Deal, with all that it did to keep America afloat, never pulled us out of the Depression. World War II did.
You just blew my mind with that one. The raising the taxes and all that didn't pull us out. It was the actual war.
No, no, because you have to think, what's being purchased? Not
Mm,
much. It's why FDR is going to have to create the agricultural, we call them the alphabet organizations.
mm.
Okay, they're going to build Hoover Dam. They're going to bring electricity to the Tennessee Valley, because people are not purchasing things because they don't have money. And as an owner, what would get you to fire up your factory again? If your product was moving,
Mhm.
okay? People are, and you have to factor in also the just the fact that consumer confidence means a
Mhm.
lot. Why are you going to spend money when you get paid? Because you have a reasonable expectation that you're going to get another check in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
What if you knew that was your last check?
I ain't
Because
spending that money.
you ain't spending nothing. So you don't spend anything. And what does that guarantee?
Mm.
That people
Trouble.
will lose their jobs because the
Exactly.
products that you would be purchasing are not moving. So now you have a snowball of individuals who are losing their jobs. They have no confidence. And even though those who don't lose their jobs are so concerned and worried about what? Losing their job.
Mhm.
So a lot of things go into it. And it's a human thing. For you, when you see something bad happening, you're going to go ahead and button down the hatches. Herbert
Mhm.
Hoover, when the depression first hits, when recession first hits, Herbert Hoover stands up in front of the American people and tells them exactly what they need to do. Spend your money. If they
Mm.
had just went out and spent their money wildly, products would have been flying off the shelf, factories would have been fired back up. But they didn't do
Oh.
that. And,
Mm.
and because they didn't do that, it grew worse and worse and worse and worse until you had a Great Depression, a global depression.
Mhm. Mm. Mm. Very interesting. Very interesting. That was a very great point. I learned that one, boy. Because when I always heard them talking about consumer confidence, I thought they were always talking about confidence in the products that they're going to go buy. I didn't know what it was.
No, no. I mean, if
Wow.
you there was a brother who I love this brother. He used to be on the custodial staff
Hmm.
at Ohio State. Big Stan. He has a son that they call Little Stan. Well, Big Stan, um, on his first day, where he's showing up, to go through orientation and what have you. He told
Hmm.
me, he said, "Man, I'm walking towards the door." I'm like, "Okay, walking towards the door." He says, "I was behind a female, but there was a brother that was in front of the female." He said, "We get to the door, the brother being nice, he held the door open for the female and then motioned for me to go through it." He said,
Hmm.
"So I walked through. We all sign in as we get in. When it came time for cuts to lay people off, that brother got laid off and Stan got to remain." Okay. Just one of the weirdest things. Stan had like maybe 3 seconds more seniority than that brother did. Okay, so when they said that they were gonna let, let's say, 75 go, Stan was the last one that was able to stay there. Now, if
Mm.
you're Stan, what do you do with that next check?
Yep, you putting it up. You putting
Why?
it up.
Why you got a job? Why? What you mean you gonna put it up?
It ain't no guarantee I'm gonna keep
See,
it.
see that. There you go. There you go. You got a loss of confidence in the economy.
Mhm. Wow, that was deep. That was deep. I want to go back to this voter suppression laws because I always thought it was foolishness myself when we talk about the ID because you need an ID to do anything today. You're gonna go pick up your meds. If you got narcotics in there, you need an ID. You need an ID for everything. So why is it that the left keep acting like that's a real problem that people shouldn't have to have ID?
Because the thing is that many of the people who are going to be attempting to vote, especially first time voters,
Mm-hmm.
many people ain't even got a bank account. I mean, think about that. They don't have a
Mm-hmm.
bank account, and without a bank account, what can you do?
Well, they go to check cashing places, or, you know, in the modern time, Cash App is their bank,
Yeah,
or
but
Chime is
but
their bank.
but when you're looking at people who are distant from what we would consider to be mainstream um, things in modern society, a bank account, a driver's license,
Hmm.
a state ID. Many
Hmm.
people may have an ID of some kind, but it may not be on that list of acceptable IDs. So now you have a individual who is probably, if they are employed, they're marginally employed. So you're telling me on their off day, they got to figure out a way to make it down to the Social Security office or to the DMV, stand in that long ass line, okay, to try to get a state ID to be able to vote. And voting is going to occur on a day that they have to work. And hell, they ain't even got no way to get to work, let alone to get down there to cast a vote. So you have these obstacles, and let's go back to the 19th century. They called politics the sport of gentlemen because you need to have some leisure time to be able to study it and to participate in it. Many people, number one, don't see the utility of voting,
Hmm.
and if you are to convince them about why they should vote, they don't have the basic means and necessities to vote.
Hmm.
And so there are other ways that voting could be handled. One of them is quite simply via cell phone. If a person has a cell phone and that cell phone is, you could have them put in, I don't know, their last four digits of their social security. If it matches up with what you have, they should be able to cast their vote right from their phone if you want them to vote. But you have one side that understands very clearly that if there are no obstacles to voting, they're going to lose. That they have to be super engaged with the voting and the electoral process to even have a chance to cheat to win.
Mm.
And the left is, when they get in power, they sit up and they talk about what is fair, what is right, what is moral. The other side doesn't have those types of obstructions. I've told people for the longest time that the Republican Party, they need to adopt the old Oakland Raiders mantra. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Mm. Wow. And do you feel as though that's one of the historical negatives that will continue the chase or continue to follow behind the quote unquote left because they don't see a need for change. They don't see a need to be trying to do anything different.
Yeah, they have historically been like a what's that monster that used to have like 10, 11 heads? It was like a dragon or something like that. That's
Yeah.
that's in many ways what the left has allowed itself to become. And so those heads, those different heads that they have,
Hmm.
are not always are rarely in agreement and on the same page. And if you think about, just look at the population of black folk. The
Hmm.
majority of black folk are not going to go out and support, for whatever reason, a LGBTQ candidate.
Hmm.
They're not going to, because we're still we're still kind of steeped in that black Christian Baptist Church of God in Christ tradition.
Hmm.
Look at that alternative lifestyle as being something that is not of God.
Hmm.
So they're not going to show up. That head is not going to support the other head. And then you're looking at white working class individuals who are going to look at any effort to aid black or brown folk by saying, "Listen, we're out here struggling too," and they're
Hmm.
absolutely positively correct. So you need to come up with a identity that can be considerate of all the other identities, but you can't forget your milk and your bread and butter population. And that bread and butter population for the Democratic Party for the last 70, 80 years has been the same. It's been unions, it's been workers. That's where they need to hang their hat at, and
Mhm.
tell everybody else to sit down and shut the fuck up. And then once we get in, we might be able to do something for you. But this public
Wow.
infighting is cutting their throat and compromising their power. Because many people, you have to really think that everyone who votes is not necessarily voting for something. Oftentimes,
Mhm.
they're voting against something. And what you just saw in the
Mhm.
last election last week, people
Right.
were voting against Trump. They weren't necessarily voting for that candidate, but they're
Mhm.
expressing their anger and their angst at Trump.
Do you think, and I want to touch on this a little bit, with this SNAP program?
Hmm.
I don't believe that the Republicans would have kept that on hold for much longer, simply because the majority of people that is hurting, it's their people. And if we know anything about how they think and operate, if there ain't no food to feed that family, that gun going in their hands, and they gonna handle their business.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but they're being coerced into following what Trump is saying,
what do you
because
mean?
well they have been they have been shown that, and they've developed this very weird phraseology, this wording. They call it being primaried, where if you don't walk the standard party line, the MAGA line, you're going to get primaried, which
Mm,
means when you run in the primary race to get to be nominated for the general election, Trump is going to order all of his crazies to go out to that election and ensure that your political career is now over.
mm,
And he's done it to many people. So, what do? Do you speak out against him and risk being primaried for the sake of your people? And keep in mind, the people who are going to work to have you defeated in the primary are these very people that you pretend that you're going to be speaking for to take care of them. It's one of the
mm,
weirdest cultish like things that you'll ever see. That people who are being harmed by these policies, with a wave of the hand, they fall back in line and quite simply say, "Oh no, we're with Trump. We're with Trump." It's the same thing with if you want to save the Affordable Care Act, stop
mhm,
calling it Obamacare. Call it Trump Care. If
mm,
you called it Trump Care, oh, they would be happy to see it. Oh my God, look at what he's done.
mhm. Right, right.
And you can't reason with people who don't have any rational thoughts.
Mhm.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I remember on the news in Maryland, they asked this white lady, "Do you want the Affordable Care Act or do you want Obamacare? Which one do you want?" "Oh no, I want the Affordable Care Act. Obamacare is just so bad. It's destroying this country. I don't want it. I don't want it. We need the Affordable Care Act." And the dude was like, "Don't you know that is Obamacare?" That's what the official name of it is, but everybody give it the name Obamacare. And she was just shocked.
Well, I bet she probably said, "Well, I never have been so insulted in my life." And but that's what you're dealing with. And I think that if you understand what you're dealing with, you can start thinking about some solutions to it, and
Mm,
understand that the idea of educating them and forcing them into a rational thought is not something that anyone's capable of doing.
mhm, definitely. Now, dealing with gerrymandering, when they redo the districts, And I think most of us know that that happened down there in Houston with what's the girl name? Um,
Jasmine Crockett.
yeah, Jasmine Crockett.
She's in Dallas.
Right. And so she got, well, I can't say she got kicked out, but the odds of her winning her district now, since it's been redone, is highly unlikely.
Well,
Uh,
we're going to see
okay.
because something has happened to
Hmm.
um, the Republican coalition. They redid those districts looking at the recent Trump presidential election victory.
Right. Hmm.
That political landscape is no longer relevant because you have lost all of the Mexican and Hispanic votes. So we're going to see because a lot of these districts that they created were brown districts because they knew they at the time they're thinking, well, we got these sold up right here. But
Hmm.
nah, you ain't got them sold up because these people are pissed. You know that you have ICE agents tackling them when they go to the grocery store, all types of things going on down here.
Hmm.
So we're gonna see. We're gonna see how it plays out because what they meant for bad, God might have been able to mean it for good.
Hmm. And so just like Texas, California is trying to redo their
Yeah,
gerrymandering
Prop 50
to,
passed.
oh, wow.
Yeah, Prop 50 passed overwhelmingly, and the difference between California and Texas is that there ain't been no sway since the since the presidential election. You
Mhm,
know which way the Californians are going to vote. It's Texas that they're uncertain about, and they should be.
mhm. And so your thing is that your thinking is that this new gerrymandering thing that they have done, you believe that it will be a positive outlook on the Democrats. But do that positive outlook on the Democrats, does that equally mean a powerful base now coming to power for Black people that's
No,
going to
no,
be able to
no,
elevate them out of?
no. You're going too far now. No. You don't went into fantasy land. No, you know what I'm saying? No, no, no. You can't go that far, brother. Where you think that because the Democrats are in power that you're going to see something. You'll what I'll say is this:
Mhm,
you won't have people chasing you down in the street trying to kill you. Let's say that. But in regards to black folk having a significant say or seat at the table, you're
mhm,
you're not even 15% of the national population. What type of say you think you're gonna get? You might get they might pass you the mic once. And the problem with getting the mic once is quite simply black folk are going to say, and this has been black political leaders' biggest weakness. When they do get to speak, they try to be all inclusive and don't advance a black agenda because they
mhm,
don't want to be seen as the black person.
mhm. Exactly, exactly. So the Black people that we have, especially in the Senate, Cory Booker and his group. Um,
Corey gonna cry his way somewhere, ain't he? So that's a brother that will cry. You
when
know,
when you look at Cory Booker, you look at Jasmine Crockett, you look at Tim Scott, these Black people that's in the Senate and the House.
Mhm.
Is that the best that Black people can do?
What do you mean by that?
The people that like Tim Scott, like
Are
Jasmine
are are,
Crockett, like
are, are these
Cory
are
Booker.
these are best and brightest?
Yes.
No, these are politicians. These are politicians. These are people who had political machine behind them, and they were able to overcome, and to be able to get somewhere. But no, these are, you would be frightened to find out who our best and our brightest actually are. And one of the problems that we have with that is that our best and our brightest are often suppressed and held down for a host of reasons. Okay,
Mm.
there is such a thing to be able to say that a person is too strong, that a person is too eloquent. Okay, if we were talking
Mhm.
about our running our best and brightest, hell, Mr. Farrakhan would have run instead of Jesse.
Mm. Mm. That's a big statement right there. That is a big statement. Um, Now, when we look at the local power infrastructure, and we're looking at the zoning and planning boards, now these boards are very, very powerful, and they're not elected people who gets to sit there.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of black control over wait a minute, I gotta stop before because I needed to ask you this question. Um, you said that Crockett, her redistricting is in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's a brown district, it may not work out to their favor. Do you still believe that the mass majority of black people are still democratic in their beliefs, or are they really conservative in their beliefs?
Okay, now when you ask, okay, let me answer the best way that I think I can. I believe that black folk will vote Democratic. They'll vote
Mhm.
for the Democratic Party. Okay. However, one of the things that I've said this for probably last 30 years is that black folk are actually very conservative.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
grow out of we've grown out of the church. When you talk about that evangelical Christian, that's principally who we are.
Mhm.
We are, God bless our hearts, we are the most Christian of Christians in a demon filled nation. Okay, that's who we are. Those are our roots, and that's where we operate from to this very day. The
Mhm.
problem is that we have too much pride and self-awareness to sit in a room with a bunch of fucking Klansmen who we know mean us no good.
Mhm.
And the Republican Party has always proven to be a haven, a home for those types of individuals. So value wise, we are definitely conservative. There's no doubt about that. Okay, when you're talking about hearing all of this hullabaloo about SNAP and how
Mhm.
people should not be allowed to be on Section 8 for generations, and many of those voices, the majority of those voices are black voices. That's just what it is. But we can't go with the Republicans because they have historically been, Klansmen, and they still have that ick factor upon
Mhm.
uh, socially conscious, politically aware black folk. Now, if they clean house, which they won't do, then we would have something to talk about. But until they do that, I mean, look at the recent thing that happened within the last month of all these Republican people who had their private chat going and the things that
Mhm.
they were saying on that chat. That's who we know that they are. Even when they don't speak those words in public, we know that's who they are. We know that's what they think and what they believe, and we know that, and we know to sidestep that.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. When going back to the question I was going to ask, when we're dealing with the boards, the zoning and planning commission, these
Mhm.
people are not elected, but they have a very big say over how the
They're
city
appointed.
is planned.
They're appointed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, why isn't we're taught about these boards? Because it's these planning boards that come and gentrify your community. They're the ones that will send a damn highway right through your community. Why are we never told about this is how this goes? This is who these people are.
Listen, you need to stop worrying your little nigga mind with such things and leave that into the purview of the white man. You trying to get assassinated or something? Okay? You don't went to one too many meetings. Okay, that's what we need you to do. Is we need you to go pick up, a sharpie and a placard, write something on there, and you go ahead and you march for a couple hours outside the room. Don't worry about disturbing us because the room is gonna be soundproof anyway. Okay,
Mm, mm,
um,
mm.
it is just stupid. That's what it come down to. I mean, when you don't have a political plan, when you don't have a strategy to go ahead and educate your own about what the
Mhm,
game is, this is what you're gonna end up with. I mean, come on, who appoints them? Okay,
mhm,
and if you figure out who appoints these different people to these different things, let's attack them and
mhm,
not attack them in the public sphere. Don't show up and try and hit them in the head with a brick. Okay, everybody just silently go down there to the DMV, get the proper state ID, and on voting day, we're going to go down there and we getting ready to clean house. Without telling nobody, you ain't got to stand out in public and talk about what you're gonna do before you got the ability to do it. Just do it.
mhm,
So that's it's an absence of strategy and a inability to go ahead and plan things out so far ahead. One of the favorite lines and most reverberating lines of Ralph Ellison's book The Invisible Man is this one right here: just keep that nigger boy running. And I
mm,
think that they keep us running, society keeps us running, okay, to the point where you don't have the energy or the time to sit down and strategize and hypothesize about these types of things. And if you did, there would be some Negro that would try and jump the line and would go tell white folk what y'all playing so that he could get his reward.
mm, mm.
If you're talking, you're froze or I'm froze.
All right, Doc, can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Am I back yet?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay,
I can
perfect,
hear you.
perfect.
You are back.
All right.
See, I told you. You saw what happened. Talking about them boards and stuff that you ain't got no business about knowing. About a brother determined to put himself under surveillance. There you go. You're like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. What did he just say?
Mhm.
Talking about the, the bridges and oh, that's a neat one we got to watch right there. Mhm.
Exactly.
Don't be
And so
don't be surprised if
then
ICE jump out on you when you go to work tomorrow. And they be like, his name, his name is Muhammad. Okay, his name is Muhammad. We need to check this out. We need to look into this.
Mm, mm, mm.
Keep on messing.
All right, all right. Now, and there's also the unseen command when you're dealing with police, you're dealing with the courts, the prosecution, the judges and stuff voted in. The DA, you vote in.
Yeah.
And this stuff still is not something that's being
Yeah.
taught to black people to say, hey, you're voting, you have the chance to vote your own in to be your own judge, but you keep letting these people who don't like you judge you.
No, I used to work for a newspaper down here in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the one that vetted all of the people who wanted our endorsement. And one of the individuals I ended up vetting was running for DA. She was going to be the
Mm,
DA, and she told me, she said, "You want me to be the DA?" She said, "Because I'm the one that's going to set the charges." Said, "I'm going to
mm-hmm.
prevent black folk from being overcharged in regards to this and that and blah 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 blah." Okay, I was I was a expert witness for a case down there about a brother who had he had to beat up his girlfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
He whooping on this sister, and they showed me the body cam to, so I would know what to say. And
Right.
woo, they whooped on that brother. They put a hurting on that brother like it was like a hurricane of punches and kicks. It looked like a full
Mm,
out fight between the police and this one brother, and he wasn't doing too well. And so they finally get him all cuffed and stuff, and they're walking him to the car. And this is where I come in. He said, "I'm gonna blow you up." Okay. The police took that as a threat that he was going to use a bomb to blow them up. So they wanted me to come down there and talk about that being hip hop slang, that I'm gonna blow you up. Okay. So I'm down there and I see the DA. The DA won. Okay.
mm-hmm.
And this is how I imagine it happens, because she was grateful that we had endorsed her and all that and blah 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 blah. And
Mm-hmm.
she says to me, "Let me know if you need me," because she didn't know why I was down there at all.
Mm,
And I was like,
right.
well, I might be able to kill somebody and be able to get away with it right now. But they definitely gave me the weak in the gun, like, hey, let me know if you need me. I was like, oh. So that electing your person, it's got
Mhm,
some benefits to it.
mhm,
There, I know good and well that behind closed doors that they hooking each other up the same way that we hook each other up.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Hmm. And this is something that should be widely known in our community, widely understood in our
Mhm.
community, because this is a pillar in which we're failing our own community by getting out there and taking full advantage of the system.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that we'll do the exact opposite. Brother get him a little position downtown. He your man downtown, and we begin to criticize him and talk about him.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, instead of realizing you
mm,
got an advocate or a potential advocate down there.
mhm,
It ties into black self hatred and all that.
mm,
And there's a moment for me where I'm checking the temperature of the room,
mhm.
and if I look at you and I give you one of these, it's gonna be slight, and you don't return it. I'm like, oh, okay, I know where I'm at now. I know, okay, okay, and I'm gonna respond accordingly. I'm gonna act how I need to act now that I know I'm totally behind enemy lines.
Right.
We have to give each other at least a chance to look
Mhm.
out for each other. Now it's some of us that just ain't shit, but
Right.
many
Right.
of us, brother or sister can't necessarily just come out and say that they got you. They gotta make it look good, but they gonna
Mhm.
they gonna do the best they can. I remember, and I rarely tell this story. I remember getting pulled over by this state trooper. Okay, you heard Lil Wayne's that Mrs. Officer,
Mhm.
that was her. Woo, man. Hey, she pulled me over, and I can tell you for sure I was listening to Gerald Levert. I had Gerald Levert playing. This is so memorable to me. Okay, she asked for my ID, my registration, and all that stuff. Blah blah blah. I'm doing like 30 miles over the speed limit, right? So she comes up and she's bringing my stuff back, and she said, "Okay, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just give you a warning this time." And blah, blah. And she handed my stuff back. As this sister walked back, when she was turning to go back, she took her two fingers and she rubbed them, reached into the car smoothly and rubbed them across my neck like that. I said, "Oh my God." I, I didn't know what to do. Okay. 'Cause I didn't want to get her jammed up and go back there trying to shoot my game and be caught up on the police cam or nothing like that. So, I just had to pull over, and then I went down, and she was behind me. I pulled into the gas station like I was trying to get some gas, and she just kept going. I was like, man, woo, woo,
Mm,
woo.
mm, mm.
This is Officer Mrs. Hey, yeah. So, give our people a chance. You never know how this thing is gonna work out.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, it is definitely good. I know one time I was same type of situation on the highway speeding, going through Maryland, and I had Minister Farrakhan playing.
Oh.
So when the lights came on and lit me up, and I was like, pull on over. And there was a brother who got out the car, and I let my window down. And when he heard the minister, all he said was, slow down, and went back and got in his car and took off. And I
Oh,
was like, praise be to Allah. Let me get on out of here.
that's a bullet right there, boy. They was getting ready. They was going to charge you with Eric killing since Lincoln had been one of the good old boys. Like, I think we didn't solve all the murders in Maryland, D.C. See what you spent on this brother.
Mhm. Exactly.
So, but
Exactly.
the thing is that the idea of a system, the system is there. The system works.
Hmm.
You just kind of have to make a decision as to Are you fine with the way this system works? And if you are, then fine. Or if you want to see some alterations and changes to it, then the next question has to quite simply be, what is it that you want to see changed, and how do you make those changes occur? And
Hmm.
failure to come up with that plan to make it occur, we're principally talking about people who are in positions. And just as they were voted in, there was a day before, days before they arrived, when they weren't in that position, and some things occurred which allowed them to get in that position. So if you want to alter that, go ahead and change the reality and
Hmm.
make it possible for you and your people to be able to get into those positions. And being a such a small percentage of this nation's population, you're going to have to come up with some coalitions and some allies and make some deals. It's politics.
Hmm. Definitely. Now, Doc, for this next section that we're moving into, can you go to your website, and pull up your article that you did, Never Forget Asada?
Okay, let me see if I can get there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm with you.
Can you read that out loud to everybody?
Okay, you want me to share the screen or?
Either way.
Okay, I'll try and do both.
Okay.
Let's see if I can. Uh, I don't know what that was, what this is about, but all right. Can you see it?
Yep, let me click on it. Yep, we're looking at it.
Okay. This is titled "Reflections on Asada." And could you bear with me 1 second?
Hmm.
All right. I just looked and saw that I'm losing power. I'm going to have my wife bring the power cord to me. So, minute. Now it's not moving. What is that about? Huh. Is there a reason? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to have to do this differently then. All right. This piece is titled Reflections on Asada Shakur, why we must never forget her revolutionary spirit. And let me actually stop sharing because it stopped working for me. Okay. And it reads as follows. When I heard that Asada Shakur had gone to join the ancestors from a network of trusted comrades, I cringed at the news. I did not think for a second that this shocking revelation was a mere rumor or part of some half baked conspiracy. None of the people that I consider allies would share such important information had it not been independently verified. I intuitively realized that I was not alone in considering this moment bittersweet. Although revolutionary minded blacks around the globe mourned Assada's demise, a part of us celebrated at the fact that the monsters who pursued her to the grave had failed at their foremost desire to see the black woman that they propagated as the mother hen that kept them shooting rot away inside a jail cell. Yet, the feeling that black revolutionaries had somehow failed a basic assignment of protecting Assata from the monsters that they continued to defy remains. In the wake of her demise, I'm hoping that we do not continue to fail Assata like we have so many other revolutionaries by allowing their contributions to drift into a sea of forgetfulness. Particularly concerning is the fact that the sea of forgetfulness will swallow the legacies of our ancestors and make them irretrievable in due time. Black America has never had a generation that did not possess the potential of forgetting our past. Feelings of inadequacy and failure regarding Assata and a host of other Black power icons flows from the fact that we have yet to subdue our enemy in a significant manner. Although it is common to hear that misery loves company, I pray that I have much company in my bothered state from fellow educators, particularly those possessing the ability to impact K through 12 school curriculums. Those curriculum and development leaders that I speak of should focus on providing a well balanced intellectual diet for Black students that prods them forward. I'm afraid that Black school administrators will continue the unfortunate tradition of failing to create curriculum that serves as a usable intellectual diet for Black children mired in a failing public school system. There should be little disagreement against the assertion that school curriculums possess the ability to bolster or stunt the intellectual curiosity of Black children. Unfortunately for Black America, the curriculum development necessary for Black children to know the difference between Assata Shakur and Afeni Shakur is not evident. So, Black America stands in a familiar space, mourning the loss of a significant figure in our mighty walk and in danger of rushing forward too quickly as we seek to gain some semblance of closure. We must never forget Assata, her contributions, and the way that her opponents hunted her. The pain derived from examining Assata's life, particularly her forced exile from the Black community that she worked so diligently to save, must serve as fuel for future fights. Fights that we must ensure that our children understand and participate in as a result of the lessons and values that we have instilled in them. Our children are our only real hope to one day make America the welcoming nation that it has rarely been for our kind.
Mm, perfect, perfect. Thanks again, Doc, for that piece. And we're using this piece to go into the next section of the program where it talks about the war on the Black mind, because the piece that Doc read um, emphasizes the importance of understanding the legacies of our ancestors and how political opposition actively works to make those memories irretrievable. And we got to be able to understand what our people went through before us, because that has to be the motivating factor, one of the motivating factors of why we do what we do, especially when we enter into politics, especially when we're getting into conversations, when we're talking about planning boards and who have control of this, who have control of this, your judges and how they have control of this, you have control of that. You have to realize and understand that in reality, you are the real power because you're the one who put these people in these offices. So you are the real power. Now, understanding the relevance of what Doc just read as it relates to not only to our great ancestor now, Shakur, but how it's so relevant to everything that we do. Now, Doc, earlier in the program, you said even where you buy your stuff at the stores is a political
Fried
decision.
chicken.
Your fried chicken is a political decision.
Mhm.
Break that down so people can understand how is Brian buying chicken from KFC or Popeyes or Yang Dong Mang down the street or Joe's Chicken Shack becomes a political decision.
Chicken and rice number one.
Yeah.
Chicken and rice number one is still open down there on Alameda. They call Alameda the Black Wall Street here in Houston. Chicken and rice
Mm,
number one still open. The
mm,
Turkey
mm,
Leg
mm,
Hut, not only is the Turkey Leg Hut closed, but both its owners are in jail.
mm. Wow.
I mean,
Mm,
the thing is that when you're talking about the idea of where you make your purchases being a
mhm,
political decision, you're really in many ways talking about circulating the black dollar. And let's be honest, we are living in a pseudo capitalist um, state where money matters. And black folk need to do like other groups have done, which is quite simply employ themselves.
mhm,
So your decision to go and buy your fried chicken at Frenchie's here in Houston, if you're going to buy some from someplace out, versus buying it chicken and rice number one. is going to allow Frenchies to continue to employ all those black folk that you see working in Frenchies, all those programs that you see Frenchies giving money to as far as youth sports and things like that. It is a wise practice to do, to circulate your money amongst your own, amongst people who will actually in every way employ you and will help with the community. But the caveat to that is quite simply that, and I wrote about this in one of the Floyd stories. Um,
Mhm.
there's a responsibility that black business owners have, and that responsibility is if we give you a monopoly, complete unfettered access to our money, you have a responsibility to us as a community. You're not allowed to take that money and put it in a white bank and store it up and keep it away from black folk. That is in many ways not your money. That is our money.
Mm. Mm. Wow. So, Doc, when we're looking at media ownership and control, if we analyze how the lack of black ownership of media, or major media, should I say, like news, social media, and publishing, it enables the defamation and the ridicule of black people globally. Do you believe that narrative shapes policy?
Without a doubt. Narrative shapes reality. And that's
Mm.
the truth of the matter is that, being able to craft a historical narrative of what occurred
Hmm.
is going to impact everything going forward. Because if your understanding of what occurred is flawed, untrue, crafted by some people who don't have black folks' interest at heart, that's going to be a very difficult thing to overcome. I'll give you a perfect example of that. This whole oversimplification of black women kicking black men out of the house by choosing Uncle Sam.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that is that was one of the requirements to get public assistance. But when you talk about it like that, you make it seem like black men were gainfully employed, that black men were making major contributions within the house. Um, many of these black men were incarcerated. Some of them were either addicted to heroin or had some connection with the drug underground economy. There's a whole lot more that goes into that moment in time, but it's very simple. It's very neat. It's very, very easy for you to go ahead and blame black women solely and say, "Oh yeah, y'all kicked us out of the house." And that's a dynamic process that you're talking about, and it's one that we have never recovered. But if you set the stage, if you create the narrative, and you blame black women solely for what occurred, and not the U.S. government, not the developing prison industrial complex, you're setting the stage for a fight that will probably never end. A fight between black men and black women that will never end. And it's going to manifest itself in so many different ways. I'll give you a good example. This week in class, I had a young lady who had taken it upon herself to be the black woman super champion, super advocate. And she goes off on this litany with all of these talking points. Well, black women are the most educated. We're starting the most business. We're blah, blah. And, I'm like, do I engage her or do I not?
Mm.
I engaged her and I said, okay, let's look at this. First off, it's untrue. You're not the most educated. That is sort of like an urban legend. You may be one of the most enrolled populations, but your educational attainments do not outstrip Asian women. They don't outstrip white women. And if we're going to just talk within the Black race, Black women are not more educated than Nigerian women. Okay.
Mm.
Well, she turns it into, um, but what about Black men? You ain't mentioned Black. And my point was, I said, well, you didn't ask about Black men. Now, if you want me to talk about Black men, say that. Yeah, well, Black women are doing so much better than Black men. And I asked her, I said, what is the average earnings of a Black woman? She
Mm.
did. What are the average earnings, yearly earnings of a Black man? And I said, would it shock you to learn, despite all your education, still out?
Mm. Mm.
And she wanted to keep going. And I told her, I said, listen, I will sit up and talk to you about this all day. There's one condition, that you go get your studies and your evidence base. Otherwise, that you've heard people say, and don't believe because it's contrary women. So when you start this first argument between Black men and Black women with a half truth of Black women putting Black men out, and you build upon it, you're going to end up getting what we're getting right now, a bunch of sound bites and half truths and things like that. So the historical narrative is crucial to everything that's going to come after it, because people take for granted that it's true, that it's valid, and it's correct. And oftentimes it's not.
Mm. Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Let me ask you, LA Burgers and Daiquiris, is that Black owned down there in Houston?
I think it's Louisiana.
Mm.
It's not LA, like you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
Los
Hmm.
Angeles. I think
Okay.
it stands for Louisiana. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't ask what's in ask Mac. I know he know. I know, but you know he know. Okay. That's the man around town right there. He know. I guarantee you he know. Mac. I would venture to guess that it is Black owned.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
That's off the top of my head. Yeah, this is like Houston is like what? Louisiana West. You know,
Oh
like
wow.
they extended Louisiana further west down I-10. Oh man,
Hmm.
they everywhere. And I mean
Mm.
everywhere. And they're
Mm.
really, for me, there isn't much difference in the cultures between people from Louisiana and people from Houston. They
Okay.
they both ride horses. Um,
Hmm.
they both listen to that doggone washboard music, Zydeco. If you
Mm.
ain't never heard Zydeco, brother, you thank God
Mm.
that you. Oh man, it's hard
Mm.
to listen to. They literally have a washboard out.
Oh wow.
It's very slavish to me. And
Mm.
I'm not going back.
Mm. 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 Wow, very interesting. Well, when we were down there, we ate at the burger and daiquiri place,
Okay.
and French fries was right on the money.
Mhm.
Anytime I go back down to Houston, I'm definitely going to stop there. Very, very good food.
What you
It
want?
was,
Some
it was
French
awesome.
fries?
Yeah, I love French fries. That's just my, that's my thing.
What kind of country? Just give me all the fries. Everybody get fries with their food. Just let me have the fries. You can have my burger and my shrimp. Just let me have the fries. I would imagine it's probably Black. Yeah.
Mm,
If
okay.
you got some money, okay, you can
Mm,
get something to eat in Houston. I
mm,
don't care. I don't care if it is 3:15 in the morning. You can get something to eat here in Houston.
mm, mm.
And see, Mackin at that old backwoods, backwater, Black hokey pokey running around in a circle with their arms all linked up, you know, like they like massa getting ready to come down there and chastise them for not dancing enough. Yeah, yeah,
Mm, mm, mm.
yeah. I mean, it is, man. It is something, you know, and all that. You I know that what's the name made it there. Made it
Mm,
out of the South. Where them fans at? That song, that's
mhm.
the type of stuff they listen to down here, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I forgot the accordion. Yeah, they got an accordion too, like
What?
they Polish.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Mm, mm, mm.
you want to talk about having a good old unfettered country time? They do it. I give them that. They
Mm,
definitely do that. They happy when they hear that Zydeco come on. You know,
mm, mm, mm.
cowboy boots on, hats on, cowboy hats on, uh, uh, and horses out there. Yeah,
Mm, 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 mm.
gas get to be too much. They go get their horses and ride their horses to the
Oh,
grocery
wow.
store, to work, all of that. Yeah, yeah. Like
Mm,
when you watch Animal Cops Houston,
mm-hmm.
that's in the city. That ain't outside out in no far place. That's in the city. That's Acres Homes. The fofo.
Mm. Wow.
The fofo. That is Acres Homes. Okay. It is not out of the question for you to be in your car sitting at a light and there's a brother in the turning lane getting ready to cross in front of you and he is on a horse.
Mm, 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 mm.
You involved with no doggone line dancing. Uh, you know.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah, I mean, man, it is, they just have too much. They just be having too much fun when they doing it too. Arms all hooked up and all that. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's them.
Mm,
But
mm,
one of the things I'll say this. I thought that the black folk in Houston,
mhm.
when I first came down here, I thought they were strange. I said
Mm,
these some strange folk. I remember being in a meeting, and the person who called the meeting, he said, "Listen, meeting is canceled." He said, "I
mm,
got to go home," and I'm like, "Oh man, something happened at the man's house." And he said, "My favorite horse is laying down in the front yard, and he won't get up." I started laughing.
mhm. Mm.
I said, you couldn't come up with no better lie than that." And people was like, "Jones, don't get jumped on up in here." Said that man ain't
Mm.
lying. He going home to see about his horse. Yeah, is it
Wow.
that type of situation where it's a different place, man. And,
Mm,
and
mm,
the thing
mm,
is that I realized after being down here long enough that their culture is less black and
mhm,
more southwestern. They're southwestern. They
mm.
are horseback, barbecuing, with some Mexican wrapped up in it as well, and all of that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
Mm. So when we're looking at education as socialization,
Hmm.
the importance of not just having black teachers, but controlling the local school board and the curriculum. Public schools are primary tool for cultural transmission,
Hmm.
but we have to look and see, are they transmitting liberation or subservience?
No, I mean these people are acting a fool. It's just what it is. Um, when you're talking about controlling the curriculum and things like that, these end of the road tests in many ways makes that a mute point because teachers are forced to teach that curriculum because their employment status is tied to the success or failure of their students on those tests.
Mm,
And if you really deal with the American public school system that is primarily focused on dealing with black children,
Mhm.
far too often the behavior problems that they have to deal with are unconscionable. And so you have teachers, God bless them, who are having to put out all of these fires inside of their classroom. And you're at a point now where, because funding is tied into student achievement, I have some former students who are teachers now who will tell you they're not allowed to give a student below a 70. If the student doesn't even turn in any work, he gets a 70, because they need for that child for his numbers to be counted in matriculating to the next grade. So somewhere along the lines, and I'll say it this way, I truly believe that it can be directly tied to non-educators making decisions about what educators do. The system has become derailed, and we've lost our way. And as far as getting back, I don't see a way. I don't see a path back. I don't think that you can
Mm.
get back.
Wow. So, do you think that what your president is doing by getting rid
Whoa,
of the
whoa, 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 whoa. No, brother. No, brother. Nah. Uh, don't make me have to leave this meeting. Because, but I caught that. Oh no. Oh no. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Wasn't you the one talking about supporting Trump? You had a moment where you was talking about supporting Trump. Remember that? You remember that? That's why I laughing so diligently. I ain't never been in that camp. He was in that camp. I remember it so well because me and my wife talked about that. It was like, oh, you remember when Brother Maurice was a Trumper? I tried to deny it for a while, but she convinced me. She reminded me. You gotta remember when when he was talking all that stuff about Trump. Oh no, brother, don't try and hang that label around my neck. Mm. No, no, no. Uh-uh. You trying to do some revisionist history up in here. That is not what happened. I have never been in that camp. Never. I remember that. I said the brother that had a stroke or something. Mine ain't right. You got brother FOI Nation of Islam. I thought I was gonna look up at the Trump rally and see y'all up there as security. Especially after he act like he got shot. I said, "Oh yeah, they getting ready to bring in Mustafa now. FOI is on their way." Mm-mm.
No. I just agree with some of his proposals.
Yeah. Oh, now you now, now,
Personally, I
now, now
agree
you
with
try
some
now
of
you
his
trying
proposals.
now them SNAP benefits is at risk. I look. I don't judge. Okay. I go over there to Food Town and I see brothers and sisters standing outside of Food Town, offering 50 cents on the dollar for the food stamps. You know, just man, I just don't know if I'm on camera. If I go ahead, because I know they would love to put me on breaking news. Okay, so like, look at this Negro right here, a Black Studies professor on up in food stamp ring. No, 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 can't do it, bro.
But do you think his getting rid of the Department of Education will actually be a benefit, or would it be something to help destroy the so-called education system that America currently is operating under?
The thing is that getting rid of the Department of Education is going to destroy what we had. And you're talking about a very difficult process of
Mm,
rebuilding it, of allowing the states to, in many ways, administrate it. I don't see how it could be a benefit at all to them, because ultimately you're going to see them continue continually break things apart under the guise, well, we're going to build a better one, a big beautiful one. It never seems to happen, you know
mm,
never seems to happen. So I don't trust that at all. And the fact that, I mean, come on, man, think about how insulting this is, that they put Linda McMahon in charge of it. I mean, come on, you want to talk about being serious about something? It would be the equivalent if they weren't fictitious characters. If we went ahead and got the Step Brothers to head something,
mhm,
you can't take that seriously. And
mhm,
nobody knows what's going on. The system is all broke down because they don't know what's going. Come on, and you're messing with people's lives and people's livelihoods. They don't
mhm,
have any idea. She doesn't know anything about education,
mhm,
none whatsoever. Ain't even served on the school board.
mhm.
You got that position the same way that all these other people got their position. He appointed himself to the post that he's in solely because he knew his ass from Fox.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm hanging my hat on one of these Negroes that I done taught to end up heading something. They'll hook me up. Put me in charge of chemical development. I can stand up and be like, yeah, yeah, we're working on chemicals, and chemicals it is.
Mhm,
We need chemicals. Thank you,
mhm.
and walk away. If nothing else, if the nation is still standing at the end of this travesty, it will show that the nation can operate on its own, because these fools have not been doing anything. They ain't
Mm,
been guiding anything. They haven't been making any decisions
mm,
whatsoever.
mm. So, do you see Gavin Newsom as the quote unquote political savior for America?
No, I don't see him as a political savior for America. What I do see him as, though, is someone who can match um, the filth and the name calling that you're getting from the right
Mhm,
very easily. Yeah.
mm,
And that's going to be, I mean, come on, let's be honest. What did the American people want? Did they want a solution to their problems, or do they want someone that stands up there and talks shit?
a shit talker.
That's what they want. That's who we
Mhm,
are as a nation. We're not
mhm,
really interested in the solution. We
mhm,
want you to stand up and talk about somebody and this and that. When the who's the Ukrainian leader, when they
mhm,
the way they did him in the White House, I was reading some of the commentary of coming from black men, and they
mm,
were like, see, that's what we've been missing. They
mm.
told him to sit his ass down and shut up. That's what we've been missing. We've been missing manhood. Yeah, yeah, you get what I'm saying? Are you
Right.
nuts?
Mm,
So I believe that Trump is the president that America deserved, because he, in many ways, reflects who so many Americans actually are.
mhm,
Okay, that's how I see it.
mhm. Definitely, I definitely agree with that. He does demonstrate exactly what America is. He's the I would say the perfect mascot
Yeah,
for America.
yeah,
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
most definitely.
Mhm. Yeah. So when we're looking, and we're going to go ahead and move to closing comments, but what should Black people be looking for in a candidate that they need to vote for? What are the terms that they should be listening out for to know that this person will speak for you, will actually get into office and do what you sent them there? What is it that they need to be looking for and listening for?
I think the black folk need to be not looking for a candidate, because it would be great, but it's not going to happen, for you to find a candidate that is speaking directly to Black issues. I think that the best that we can aim for in this nation is a candidate that is willing to talk about and to address the non-racial issues that impact Black folk, like raising the minimum wage, insurance benefits, um, working to lower food costs, working to lower um, things like the incarceration rates of criminals. They're never going to say Black. I think that you're going to have to read into it and say, well, if they're going to work to lessen and lower incarceration rates, Black folk would be affected positively by that. If they're going to lower food costs, Black folk would be affected by that. If they're going to talk about worker rights and labor rights, well, we're workers, we're laborers, that would positively impact us. Someone who is not hostile to Black folk. I think that that is probably the best that you're going to be able to do at this moment in time.
Mm. Wow. And when it's a Black candidate, what should they be listening for if it's a Black candidate?
The same things.
Mhm.
The same things. You're setting yourself up for mounds of frustration if you sit up and you're expecting. I mean, go back to Obama.
Mhm.
When did Obama talk about specifically helping Black folk and Black folk only? That's, for me, it's kind of what FDR faced during the New Deal when A. Philip Randolph approached him about banning discrimination in the wartime industries.
Mhm.
FDR says, of course, I would love to, but if I do that, the Dixiecrats are going to filibuster everything, all New Deal legislation, and nothing will get through. That's what has to happen. You have to have someone who is going to, a rising tide raises all boats, you know, but you can't, and this is probably the most important part of all,
Mhm.
that is not enough when you're seeking an improvement in Black lives. So while they're doing those types of things, you have to be busy doing your own agenda, circulating the Black dollar, educating yourself, voting, trying to take over municipalities, taking over school boards, and what have you. So you have to work in conjunction, almost as an ancillary at the local level to what's happening with the different shifts and machinations that are occurring at the federal level.
Definitely, definitely. All right. Any more closing comments, Scott?
Oh, just happy to be here, man. Happy to be here with my brother. Happy to be, here with the regular crew, and looking forward to being back here, God willing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excellent, excellent. And we want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank everybody for coming out. Please like, share, and subscribe as we continue moving forward. And we'll be back with y'all again Saturday and maybe even back during the week with something also coming up. All right. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Peace.
Peace. So you better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living